Tonight, postal workers go on a nationwide SNAP strike after the government issues major new demands. Solidarity! The sweeping changes that sparked the action.
Nothing will be moving at this point until we come to a collective agreement.
Canada Post is effectively insolvent.
And what it means for your mail.
Fight gay!
A Canadian father fatally shot on a golf trip south of the border.
This is the worst phone call I've ever had, yeah. It brought me to my knees.
A family's gut-wrenching grief after the tragic chain of events. Plus, gearing up for the FIFA World Cup.
Good morning, Canada.
What do you think of that choice of a moose?
Mixed reaction on the new mascots and concerns about the soaring costs.
Taxpayers should be really concerned.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening. We begin with breaking news. Thousands of Canadian postal workers are back on the picket lines tonight after their union declared a nationwide strike. Solidarity! The job action that began this evening is in response to massive new changes the federal government is ordering to curb major financial losses. Ottawa says the Crown Corporation is losing approximately $10 million every day. And whereas 20 years ago it delivered 5.5 billion letters annually, today that number is less than half that. The union tonight saying it is, quote, outraged by the announcement and that the minister gave no indication of the demands when he met with union leadership last week. CTV's Rachel Aiello starts us off with the clash.
Canada Post, an institution generations of Canadians have relied on, is effectively insolvent. And so the federal government has ordered immediate changes to how and how often Canadians' mail is delivered, including lifting the 10-year moratorium on converting Canadians to community mailboxes.
I want to be clear. Canada Post has an obligation to serve all Canadians in every community in Canada, and that will not change.
While 3/4 of Canadians already receive mail in a communal location, the move will bring an end to door-to-door delivery for 4 million addresses within 9 years.
Canada Post will inform Canadians as they go.
Citing reduced demand, Canada Post is also being told to lower its letter mail delivery standard, meaning instead of it taking between 2 and 4 days for small deliveries, it could take up to 7. And changes are also coming to rural post office operations, as recently recommended by an industrial inquiry.
These measures will help stabilize Canada Post's financial situation by generating close to $500 million per year.
Since 2018, Canada Post has lost more than $5 billion and is on track to lose close to $1.5 billion this year. And uncertainty about the reliability of Canada Post as a result of the festering labor dispute has exacerbated the crisis.
Issues that they
now, a move the minister hoped would bring both sides back to the table has led to a nationwide strike.
We are the members that move, the employees that move mail in the major plants in the country, and all the way down to the delivery. Nothing will be moving at this point until we come to a collective agreement.
Before the news of the strike broke, the Crown Corporation welcomed the sweeping changes, and its CEO vowed to urgently implement them. But now, Canada Post plans, much like the mail, may be on hold. Omar?
All right, Rachel, thank you. And late tonight, Canada Post said it was, quote, disappointed by the strike action and that it will further deteriorate the company's financial situation. Turning now to breaking news from Washington, U.S. President Donald Trump has announced new tariffs affecting 3 industries starting next week, announcing on Truth Social that starting October 1st, we will be imposing a 100% tariff on any branded or patented pharmaceutical product unless a company is building their manufacturing plant in America. Also, on October 1st, a 25% tariff on all, quote, heavy big trucks made in other parts of the world. And finally, a 50% tariff on all kitchen cabinets, bathroom vanities, and associated products, as well as a 30% tariff on upholstered furniture. And that's not the only breaking news out of the U.S. Capitol tonight. Former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted by a federal grand jury just days after Donald Trump publicly suggested his adversaries should be prosecuted. Comey fired back online.
My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial.
And CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbin is standing by in Washington tonight. Joy, what can you tell us about the charges?
Omar, it's no secret Donald Trump is going after his political opponents, and James Comey is top of the list. The former FBI director charged tonight with making false statements and obstruction by a federal grand jury in Virginia. This after Trump demanded the prosecution, accusing Comey of lying to Congress about the FBI's investigation into Trump's 2016 presidential campaign and possible ties to Russia. Attorney General Pam Bondi, a fierce Trump loyalist, said on social media, "No one is above the law." And tonight on True Social, Trump declared justice in America. One of the worst human beings this country has ever been exposed to is James Comey, the former corrupt head of the FBI. For his part, Comey has denied any wrongdoing. He is the first government official to face prosecution in connection with Trump's grievances. If convicted, Comey could face 5 years in prison. Omar?
Joy Malbin on that breaking news in Washington tonight. Joy, thank you. Back in this country, one of Canada's most wanted men, a convicted murderer who broke out of a BC jail 3 years ago, has been arrested in Qatar. Rabi Al-Khalil escaped a Port Coquitlam Correctional Center in 2022. He was facing first-degree murder charges in a 2012 gang shooting. He has been convicted of murder twice, along with drug trafficking and conspiracy offenses. The RCMP says it's working with Interpol and other international partners to have him returned to Canada. The Mounties are also saying they've dismantled one of the largest known dark web drug networks in Canadian history. 7 suspects from the Greater Toronto area have been charged with the criminal enterprise. Police allege the group shipped around 400 packages weekly across Canada, and they've seized 75 kilograms of drugs. To the devastating story of a man from Stouffville, Ontario, who was shot and killed in Wisconsin. The 32-year-old had just become a new father and was getting ready for another celebration next week. And now, as CTV's Adrian Gabriel tells us, friends and family are preparing for his funeral.
5 weeks ago, Mike Robinson and his wife Rachel welcomed their first child, a baby girl named Farah, into the world. On Wednesday, the 32-year-old father experienced another lifetime event, sinking his first hole-in-one at a Wisconsin golf course he dreamed of playing at with friends and family. One of his first phone calls after draining the shot was to his brother Jacob back in Canada.
That phone call is just, it's playing in my head.
Mikey! Mikey!
A few short hours later, Robinson was murdered.
A subject who was shot and is not conscious, not breathing.
It's the worst phone call I've ever had, yeah. It brought me to my knees.
Robinson had just wrapped up dinner with some of those he'd golfed with that day. His family believe he was walking to his hotel in Sheboygan Falls, Wisconsin, when the young father was shot. Police believe a suspect was driving a small, dark-colored SUV.
My brother was one of a kind, and he touched a lot of people's hearts.
Speaking to CTV News from Pearson International Airport, on his way to bring home his brother's body, Jacob Robinson wants Canadians to know his brother's life story.
He was my best man, and I always joked around that, yeah, he was my little brother, but he was my big brother to me. I looked up to him in every aspect of life, and he was a true gentleman.
Robinson, a skilled hockey player, was drafted into the OHL, played in the ECHL and in Europe, and was now living in Pennsylvania, where he worked for a golf company. Robinson was scheduled to fly back to Canada next week for his sister's wedding, which is now being postponed.
My sister's wedding is going to be now my brother's funeral.
Jacob has now assumed the responsibility of keeping Mike's memory alive for his young daughter, Farah.
He loved her so much, and he loved his family.
Mike Robinson's immediate family have all arrived in the U.S. His father says they're expecting autopsy results tomorrow morning. They want to thank Canadians across the country for their prayers and their support. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Stouffville, Ontario.
Just heartbreaking. Prime Minister Mark Carney arrived in London, England late this evening for a trip meant to boost investment and strengthen ties with a key ally. CTV's Jeremy Sharon is traveling with the Prime Minister. And Jeremy, this is the Prime Minister's second official visit to the UK. Tell us what we can expect and what's on the agenda while he's there.
Omar, fresh off a trade mission to Mexico last week and meetings at the UN General Assembly in New York earlier this week, the Prime Minister has made his way to London, where once again, trade and economic gains will be at the top of the priority. While he's here, he'll also be focused on meeting with other world leaders and discussing shared priorities when it comes to defense and security, specifically around the war in Ukraine and the war between Israel and Hamas, as well as Arctic security. The Prime Minister will be meeting with a long list of world leaders, including the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer, the Prime Ministers of Australia, Denmark, Spain, as well as Iceland. While he's here, he'll also take part in a summit that is gathering progressive world leaders. But senior government officials speaking on background tell CTV News and the group of reporters here that this trip is about getting face time with these world leaders in a continued effort to try and diversify Canada's international partnerships. Omar?
All right, Jeremy Sharon in London tonight. Jeremy, thank you. Back in Ottawa, major new warnings tonight about government spending in a financial forecast that comes ahead of the November budget. CTV's Abigail Beeman breaks down the numbers.
It should be very alarming.
Strong words from the budget watchdog about the country's financial picture.
Stupefying. Shocking.
His new report projects a sharp hike to the annual deficit from $51.7 billion last year to $68.5 billion this year.
All of which will add to the cost of living for Canadians. How is it possible that any Prime Minister could have been more expensive than Trudeau?
A large part of that is in response to what has happened, not by choice, but we had to be there for workers. If you're in the auto sector, the steel industry, in the forestry industry, you expect your government to be there.
But what the parliamentary budget officer calls unsustainable? The debt to GDP ratio, what the Trudeau government often lauded as declining, is now set to increase in the medium term.
And this is the first time in 30 years that I've seen one in which that ratio is going up over time. So that's definitely a cause for concern.
The report includes $115 billion in announced new spending, but notably does not include the Prime Minister's commitment to hit the NATO target of 5% of defense spending by 2035, or any of the government's spending review that's expected to hit 15% in cuts by 2029.
I think the government is in a bind right now trying to deal with this trade war and the effects on the economy.
More potential spending not included in the report. The PBO calculates about $20 billion in Liberal campaign promises that have yet to be put into action. The budget and any potential solutions to what the watchdog has flagged are still 6 weeks away. Omar?
All right, Abigail, thank you. An Ontario court has approved an auction of more than 4,000 items from Hudson's Bay. No word yet exactly what's going on sale, but it will be split between an online auction starting November 12th and an in-person auction a week later. Not included is the royal charter that led to the creation of the company in 1670. Ontario's premier says his government will introduce legislation to ban speed cameras, calling them a cash grab. But others insist they save lives. Here's CTV's Siobhan Morris.
In a matter of weeks, speed cameras like this will be nothing more than expensive pieces of street art. The Premier planning legislation to turn speed cameras off this fall. While Doug Ford's government paved the way for these cameras,
it's out of control right now, and things have changed.
Calling the use of cameras to catch and fine speeders a cash grab. By November 14th, municipalities with cameras have to put up warning signs in school zones to slow drivers down. The province ready to work with them on traffic calming measures that don't involve tickets.
If you have a speed bump, you aren't zipping by at all. Or if you have a roundabout, you aren't zipping by. And the warning with the flashing signs coming at you, you know to slow down.
The plan has approval of the association speaking for Ontario police officers.
Officers are able to exercise discretion, offer real-time education, and deliver accountability in ways that cameras simply cannot.
But the Association of Chiefs of Police of Ontario have warned ending the use of cameras will put pedestrians at risk. Research from Sick Kids shows cameras have cut the number of speeding drivers in school zones by nearly half. Ford says he respects those groups, but
they'd have 0 tickets if they slowed them down. Instead, We're seeing hundreds of thousands of tickets. That's the proof. Proof in the pudding right there.
He emphasizes most municipalities don't have cameras.
Municipalities have lost the public trust on the issue of ASC cameras.
Vaughan ended its speed camera program a few weeks ago after resident pushback and an explosion in tickets.
The people of this city, and I suspect the people of Ontario, want us to focus on what I will call the real criminals.
Killers and thieves. Waterloo Region set up brand new speed cameras on roads it controls in Kitchener just yesterday. But the mayor of that city isn't a fan.
We believe that our Vision Zero initiatives, built on a foundation of changing behavior through road design and not punitive measures, has been the best tool to balance safety and affordability.
Other mayors hope they can change the premier's mind.
Mr. Ford, please leave the cameras alone. Leave them in front of schools. I know him to be a compassionate person. He does not want the injury or death of a child on his conscience.
Siobhan Morris, CTV News, Toronto.
Coming up.
The community and the family. We need some more explanation.
Why mourners are demanding answers at a funeral in Quebec. Plus, the motive behind the murder of notorious serial killer Robert Pickton. A prisoner in Quebec has pleaded guilty to murdering Robert Pickton, telling the court he did it for the victims of the serial killer. Martin Charest said he locked himself in a room with Pickton and killed him. It happened at a maximum security prison last year. In court today, Charest said Pickton would brag about his murders to other inmates. The serial killer was convicted on 6 counts of murder, but confessed to killing a total of 49 women. More than 1,000 mourners gathered in Montreal to say goodbye to a 15-year-old boy who was shot and killed by Quebec police, all of them trying to understand the answer to the same question. Here's CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin.
The father of 15-year-old Nuran Rezaei was among those carrying his casket. This after an emotional funeral in a mosque filled with grief, where a family mourned a son, teens mourned a friend.
Lots of sadness in the community. He was a young boy, a baby like his father used to call him.
And many here are struggling to understand why the teenager was killed during a police operation last weekend.
We have a lot of respect for the job of the police that they are doing across Quebec. But in this special case, the community and the family, we need some more explanation.
After the funeral, some of Rezaei's classmates gathered at the memorial, tending to the notes, flowers and candles. Nuran was kind, respectful, says one of his friends. I'm sad, but I'm also angry. Longueuil police issued a statement appealing for calm. This after a teen Rezaei's age was arrested last night in connection with threats against an officer. Both the Montreal police and the BEI, Quebec's police watchdog, have launched investigations. Marches have also been planned for this weekend to denounce the shooting. Organizers have asked that the events remain peaceful in honor of Rezaei. The police watchdog has asked for the community to trust the investigation, but that's a tough ask for so many here grieving. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Longueuil, Quebec.
Still ahead. What soccer fans are saying about the new World Cup mascots. With less than 9 months to go until Canada plays host to the Men's World Cup, FIFA unveiled the mascots meant to rally soccer fans. CTV's John Venevali Rao on the reaction and concerns about the cost of the tournament.
Good morning, Canada time.
In this animated video, we got our first look at Canada's World Cup mascot, a moose named Maple, naturally sporting a lot of red. And no doubt about to cruise onto t-shirts and all sorts of merchandise, joined by Mexico's mascot, a jaguar. And for America, what else? A bald eagle. All three representing the host nations for 2026. And outside the FIFA countdown clock in Toronto, we asked the question.
What do you think of that choice of a moose?
Yeah, it's cute. Yeah.
I love it. I think when you think of Canada as well, I think you think of a moose in terms of animal.
I think a raccoon would have been better, actually. Yeah, a raccoon would have been like badass. But a moose, I don't know.
The mascot reveal, all part of the build-up, leading to the big event next June. with work taking place on both stadiums in Toronto and Vancouver, which will host the first ever FIFA World Cup games in Canada. In Toronto, massive new video boards have already been installed. And when it comes to the call for volunteers to help in Canada, FIFA's already received hundreds of thousands of applications for 6,000 spots.
It's been massive. Yeah, we fully expect that those volunteer spots are going to be, as sought after as tickets.
We are Canada. As for the cost to host 13 games in Toronto and Vancouver, the price has ballooned to almost $1 billion. Nearly double the estimate when the cities were named hosts 3 years ago, in part because security costs have gone up.
Taxpayers should be really concerned about these cost overruns to host this handful of international soccer games.
Proponents, though, say the economic benefits will make it worthwhile, as will the memories and the mascots. John Benavalli Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
Still ahead, trash or treasure? The mysterious thrift store find that's inspired an archaeology course at a BC university. A BC thrift store is at the center of a 1,000-year-old mystery. A collection of antique jewelry someone donated may actually be ancient Roman treasure. Now, as CTV's Andrew Johnson shows us, university students will have the opportunity to piece together its past.
You never know what's in the bottom of a box.
Among the thousands of donations sorted through each day at Chilliwack's Thrifty Boutique, some unusual discoveries stick out.
Diamond ring in the bottom of a sock. We've had like $300 in a men's package of underwear.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Their origins are sometimes a mystery, even a question of who, not what.
Hopefully, someone will come and claim Mom.
But none have attracted as much attention as the items that, even after multiple online searches, left the small army of volunteers stumped.
We just winged it, put a price on it, and threw it in the display case.
$30 for these, a collection of very old-looking rings and medallions. Turns out they may be much older than anyone could have imagined, but one shopper had a suspicion.
I guess what happened was an archaeologist came into the store, saw this collection on display, and said, "Listen, you really need to contact someone at SFU."
The items were donated to Simon Fraser University, where experts now believe they could date back as far as the 5th century AD, what was once the Western Roman Empire.
We've got potentially hundreds of generations of people who have worn these pieces or who, cared for them, who shared them, passed them down to loved ones.
They could also be forgeries. That is still a possibility. Something students will explore in a new archaeology course created specifically to study the find next fall.
It's really, really exciting to try to think about what the stories that will emerge from this research might be.
While the hunt continues here for the next treasure. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Chilliwack, BC.
What a find. That's a snapshot of this Thursday. Heather is here tomorrow. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching and good night.